Okay, we've looked at layer 2 switching, we've looked at troubleshooting, our inter VLAN routing. Let's look a little bit at layer 3 switching. The layer 3 switches usually have packet switching throughput in the millions of packets per second. All Catalyst switches support two types of layer 3 interfaces, the routed port and SVI. High-performance switches such as the Catalyst 6500 and Catalyst 4500 are able to perform both of the router functions. Several models of the Catalyst switches require enhanced software for specific routing protocol features. And today, routing has become faster and cheaper and can perform at hardware speed. It can be transferred to core and distribution devices with little to no impact on your network performance. Many users are in separate VLANs, and each VLAN is usually a separate subnet. This implies that each distribution switch must have IP addresses matching each access switch VLAN. With layer 3 switches that are routed, these routed ports are normally implemented between the distribution and the core layer. And this model is less dependent on spanning tree as there are no loops in the layer 2 portion of the topology, and we'll get to spanning trees later. By default, an SVI is created for the default VLAN, and that's typically VLAN 1, and this allows the remote switch administration. Any additional SVIs must be created by the admin, and SVIs are created the first time the VLAN interface configuration mode is entered for a particular VLAN SVI. And an example is that the interface VLAN 10 entered by the first time creates an SVI named VLAN 10. And the VLAN number used corresponds to the VLAN tag associated with data frames on an 802.1q encapsulated trunk. Whenever the SVI is created, it ensures that particular VLANs is present in the VLAN database. Also, some of the advantages of SVIs is it's much faster than router on the stick because everything is hardware switched and routed. There's no need for external links from the switch to the router for routing. There's not limited to one link. The layer 2 ether channels can be used between the switches to get more bandwidth, and the latency is much lower because it does not need to leave the switch. Now, inter VLAN routing with our routed ports. A routed port is a physical port that acts similarly to an interface on a router. These routed ports are not associated with any VLANs. With our layer 2 protocols such as STP or spanning tree protocol, they do not function on a routed interface. Routed ports on the Cisco IOS switch do not support sub-interfaces. And to configure routed ports, use the No Switch Port Interface Configuration Mode command. One of the things you need to pay attention to is that routed ports are not supported on the Catalyst 2960 series switches. Now, when you're configuring static routes on the Catalyst 2960s, the Cisco Switch Database Manager, or SDM, provides multiple templates for the 2960 switch. The SDM LAN-based routing template can be enabled to allow the switch to route between VLANs and to support static routing. You would use the show SDM prefer command to verify which template is in use. The SDM template can be changed in global configuration mode with the SDM preferred command. You do need to use the SDM prefer command in order to allow your devices to use IPv6 addressing. Some of the issues with layer 3 switching configuration. In order to troubleshoot the layer 3 switching issues, you need to check some of the following. Make sure your VLANs, we're going to check there first. The VLANs must be defined across all the switches, not just part of them. The VLANs must be enabled on the trunk ports. Remember, we have to have trunking for the VLANs to work properly. Ports must be to the right VLANs. With your SVIs, they must have the correct IP address or subnet mask. The SVI must be up, and the SVI must match with the VLAN number. With routing, routing must be enabled. Each interface or network should be added to the routing protocol. And with your host, the host must have the correct IP address or subnet mask, and the host must have a default gateway associated with the SVI or the routed port. If it doesn't have it, it doesn't know which way it's headed out, so that's necessary.